And welcome back to another YouTube video. For those of you who don't know, my name is Nate, and this channel serves as a video journal where I answer existential questions and explain concepts that I find very fascinating, aka being a synthesizer in today's world. And then also an educational YouTube channel where I try to teach others how to make communities out of interests and hobbies that they have and potentially monetize it down the road. That's the more advanced application. And so today's topic is the concept of the flow state by a Hungarian-American psychologist called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And I'm probably mispronouncing that, even though I searched it up on YouTube 3 times and watched other YouTube videos, the irony, on how to pronounce the name. But anyway, the Hungarian-American psychologist Mihaly, let's just call him that way, is the founder of the concept known as positive psychology. And so with positive psychology, there is a derivative concept called the flow state. And we're going to use a lot of personal examples that I can help relate to in order to provide value and explain a little bit more behind the concept. And so what I mean by the flow state is, have you ever had a moment where you are working on a project or you have a hobby that you spend so much time on that the entire world just melts away and there's only that right in front of you? A lot of runners, for example, have what they call like an athlete's high, where they zero in on like a long distance marathon that they're running, or an artist is painting a piece and they spend like 24 hours on that piece and everything else just is secondary. That's the flow state for those of you that don't know what that is. And I find that I personally have that when I'm on my creative sprouts, making YouTube videos and researching concepts, or if I'm working on my Embassy Life in DC project, which is my alternate creator project that focuses on international embassy and cultural events. That's the real danger, is that you can get into the flow state with a lot of your creative projects, and then you spend so much time on that stuff that you obviously have other responsibilities that you need to do. Yeah, kind of neglect those from time to time when it comes to working on stuff like this, but that's besides the point. Let's get back on track. So with Mihaly's concept of the flow state, his entire experiment, in lack of a sense, was to observe artists in their natural environment where they spent literally an obscene amount of time on one painting, but then they just moved on to the next painting. And so the point that I'm trying to make here is that the flow state allows you to focus on things for an extended period of time, but there's a caveat to that, where from my understanding, it's not the end product that matters, it is the creative process that matters, and that's what you need to fall in love with. So for all my artists and creators out there, you need to fall in love with the creative process of whatever you do. It doesn't matter if you're an artist, a writer. I literally did a YouTube video on how to be a writer and the skills that are a derivative of that. It's still uploading, actually, funny enough. But the point is that no matter what you do as a creator, and if you're using your creative portions of your mind, you need to fall in love with the creative process, not be so obsessed with the end result. And yeah, it's important to make sure that whatever you create is of a high quality and actually provides value to your audience or your ideal demographic. But the thing is that I've been wondering about this myself with my projects that I do. And the reason why I have been successful with the Embassy Life project so far and other creative projects that I've done so far as well is because I fell in love with the creative process of creating a newsletter and also creating content and producing value. And I wasn't so worried about what the end result was. For example, this YouTube video is utter crud. There's no editing, it's just me talking. My hands are waving around. I'm not even looking at the camera directly, and I'm saying and stuttering half the time because I'm working on, speaking better in front of a camera. So the product is crud when you compare it to a Mr. Beast video, but that's a completely different story. The point is that if you fall in love with the creative process, you enter a flow state where you are more than capable of spending days at a time on a project that you love or a hobby that you enjoy doing. And that is so fascinating to me that Mihaly came up with that concept in many of his books. Like there's a book that I've seen floating around the internet called The Flow State, or it's called Flow. No, it's called Flow actually. It's called Flow. And just quick disclaimer, I haven't read it, but from the summary that I looked at, it talks about the flow states and the concept of falling in love with the creative process of iteration and not necessarily focused on the end product. So that's something to think about. And he's also been on some TED Talks as well, because he's a well-known psychologist as well. So anyway, like and subscribe for more as we cover more existential topics like the flow state. I find it very fascinating, and I hope you do too. Book recommendation, The Flow State. That should be a great one. So see you around.